Hello and welcome to another episode of Feeding Fatty. This is Roy.
This is Terry.
So we are the podcast that we are chronicling my journey through getting healthy. Terry is my support mechanism, of course, but the challenges that we go through eating better, making sure that we are eating right, not cutting out some of our nutrients and things that we need, but also getting in that exercise zone and really sticking to it. It's been one of our issues is, we do good for a while and then fall off the track. But we also like to bring professionals to the show to talk about different issues that sometimes we don't know what we don't know, but sometimes we also may need a helping hand. And so today is no different. We have an awesome guest. And Terry, I'll let you introduce Elizabeth.
Yes, thank you. As a functional medicine certified health coach, Elizabeth Cristofano sets out to inspire women, especially women over 40, to take back their life and vitality by getting to the root cause of their overall health. Health and wellness has been in Elizabeth's world for the last decade and has evolved as soon as she turned 40. Elizabeth's career was mainly in the apparel world, working for companies including a New York designer brand and a Fortune 500 company, a career that was not sustainable. And in the midst of her starting her own health journey, she experienced burnout. Taking on a mind body approach, Elizabeth started incorporating optimal nutrition, meditation, journaling, daily workouts, and movement, and practicing setting boundaries, all of which helps her thrive in everyday life. Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming on the show. There's so much to cover here. But we really appreciate you coming on and talking about your story and your journey to help women over 40.
Thank you for having me on. This is going to be great. I'm excited.
So you were in the corporate world, and did you have a specific health issue or many health issues? How did that steer you toward being a functional medicine health coach?
Yes. So the burnout actually took place, I want to say about 5 or 6 years ago. And that was when I was in the corporate 500 company. And it was at the same time I was actually starting my own health journey, meaning I was understanding more of the, nutrition, like whole foods. I did actually the Whole 30, starting that out. Took on, workouts, so a workout regimen that actually worked for me. So when I started that journey and started seeing some great results, I got a promotion. And that promotion led to longer hours. And it was only because I work with overseas. So you had to be on very early and you had to be on at night when they are up. So it was literally probably, like 18-hour days, and, it's just all in one. And then obviously, the work itself kind of got to me, and I experienced, so what it was just never ending, trying to climb, trying to, like get my head above the water.
Just getting
And
nowhere. Yeah.
exactly, getting nowhere. And I was crying a lot. I was sick. I wasn't working out anymore. I wasn't eating right. And I decided, after I think it was a year in that promotion, I decided to walk away. And I decided to kind of take some time off. And it was then, it was actually, going through that, kind of taking the time off, I knew, and I got into meditation, I think, at that point. So doing that mind body after the fact really helped, because, I'm still in that corporate world now. I'm back into it. Um, and, but I'm understanding how to manage that stress a little bit. So only recently, I say that with a caveat, and it was 2 years ago, so I was 41. I, my job right now is not that stressful, but I put a lot of stress on myself trying to achieve. Right. So I'm like 40, I'm like, all right, I need to do something. I'm going to do, kind of be that achieving person. So I'm a high achiever. And when that was happening, I guess I just didn't understand how to manage that stress at the time. So I was, I was getting very irritable. I was bloated. I was fatigued in the afternoon. So the fatigueness really set in, and I was drinking coffee, like 2 or 3 cups. And I was trying to like stay awake. And the sleep I think was okay, but I think it was more or less like, always trying to be on, always trying to do stuff. And I thought to myself, I can't have perimenopause right now. I mean, I could, but I don't think I do. And so it was at that point, like, I need help. Like, I need to go and get some help. And, I don't believe in conventional medicine, and I haven't for a long time. Only, hearing how they don't do a lot of tests, they only, and living through that too. So I set out to find a functional medicine doctor. And it was then where I was like sitting there with him for an hour. And he asked all these questions and actually took like, a 9-page questionnaire just before the appointment. So when I went through that and he talked to me like I was a person, and like the language and everything, it just felt right. And so then we did some tests. It showed that I had a lot of toxicity. My vitamin B's were low. At the time, I thought doing the carnivore diet was the thing. So I'm like, okay, let me do the carnivore diet to see if this helps. Prior to that, and no, I'm actually predisposed to cardiovascular disease. So, cholesterol. So my LDL was high. And it was just, all of that, seeing all of that just like spoke to me. And it was like aha moment. So he put me on a regimen, and I went through, like I think it was a month of detox, and it worked. So, I changed my diet because I thought it was supposed to be all keto, no, low carb, can't do well on carbs. Well, this was a detox. So I was able to, have carbs on it. And just the digestion, it was like I wasn't digesting food. So I had digestion problems, and all of that went away. So I was like, aha, there's something to this. And then fast forward a little bit to about a year ago, I was, kind of bringing in for my job. I was kind of like the wellness coach there, or the wellness coordinator, I should say. So I was bringing in kind of, teachers or lunch and learn, people to come in for lunch and learns and everything like that. So I was talking to somebody, and they said, well, you'd be a great teacher, or you'd be a great health coach. And I'm like, aha. So I decided to embark on that journey of going into functional medicine health coaching, and just recently graduated about a month ago. So I am here on this journey trying to help others just, kind of avoid what I had to go through.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that I think as a coach, it's a benefit to the people you're helping, because you've actually been through that. And so you have that experience. So that always speaks to me. But also well, we always say we're not doctors, and you need to check with your healthcare professionals. And we kind of go through all of that. One thing that we have noticed is that it seems that in the traditional medicine, it's basically, oh, you got a problem, I've got a pill for you.
Medication.
And not really, well, and I think the other thing that you said that was poignant was that you talked to your functional medicine doctor for over an hour. My experience, traditional medicine, that's you, if you're lucky, if you went in 10 times, if you would get to talk to them for an hour in aggregate. So really taking that time to sit down and understand what is going on to try to address that, that underlying issue.
Right. And that's the key. It's getting to the root cause.
Root cause.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot too. We actually did a taping with the guest yesterday, and we've had a Dr. Mike, one of our very first guests that came on the show, they talk about, food as medicine. And so I think that we kind of have to take that approach, especially the older we get, that, we need to eat things that are going to be good for us functionally. And, sometimes these, we've talked, we talked a lot about this too, is that we got us an app so we could put food in, because you would be surprised when you start cutting this out or this. And even when we thought we were eating good, there were so many micronutrients that we were missing out on. It is amazing. And especially when you get older, like me, those things will start affecting you more by not having those, your eyes, your ears, digestion, brain health. That's another one that we've talked about as well.
I want to point out that he said he's the one getting older, not us.
Right.
No. Only the men, get older. We don't.
That's
right.
Sorry. Yeah. So stress and burnout for women all over the board, as far as age, it happens. And we just get so caught up in everything that, our health, you don't realize what it's doing to your health, as far as just everything that's going on in your life, the kids, the work, the just trying to say yes to everything. We don't say no, we just kind of keep going.
And I'll put a plug in for you ladies that, because
on a mission today.
Yeah. No, I just, I used to work a lot in the senior living industry, more on the business side than the care side. But what we always found was that usually the daughter-in-law was the one tasked with taking care of, the husband's parents. And so I guess I will just say is that it seems that, you have a career, you have the kids, you may actually have parents if you're in that sandwich generation. There's just a lot going on. And, I'm very thankful for Terry every day, because it's just, our kids are older and gone, but she holds us together by getting everything done. And I know it's a lot of stress for her.
Yeah. And I will say, and yes, kudos to not only, and it is because we take it on, it is because I think that's what we're caretakers,
Right.
We're caretakers. And so when the generations now are not only caretakers, but now we're entrepreneurs. Yeah. So now we're taking on the role of, being high achieving, being the role model of, I guess, bringing home the bacon. Right. But it's not just that, though. I think being everything, I think we take that badge of honor to be that Wonder Woman. Yeah. Now, I will say a caveat to that, though. Things are shifting a little. I've noticed that husbands are starting to take the role of the at-home dad. Yeah. It's not widely, there yet. There's not a lot of men who do take that role. But and I, honestly, I have my husband help in with whatever I need help as well. Yeah. Like roles have shifted since I've taken on this health coaching and this podcast. Yeah. I don't clean that much anymore. So I said, can you help me clean? Whereas, and that's the thing, you have to delegate. Yeah. We have to be able to understand that it's okay to say no, because we can't do everything.
Yeah, right? It's not a sign of weakness. And I think that we, right. Men and women alike, we get into that, or the other thing is the guilt, and we feel like it's selfishness. But, it's something I've been working on for a long time, because I've read that, as long as it's not hurting other people, it is not selfish for us to take care of us. And I was going to say that kind of gets back to, even if you want to be somebody that takes on everything, if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to end up not being able to take care of anybody. And so, we kind of have to take that approach that we've got to be healthy and happy in order to be able to take care of somebody else.
Right. And it's like that. And I think I hear it a lot. It's like that airplane model right now. So you put the mask on yourself before you put the mask on, your loved ones.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that, because, you're no good if you're, burnt out, or if you're laid up, or, or if you're sick. You're no good to other people.
Right.
Or dead. But,
Right.
it happens. Stress has actually killed people,
Right.
So, yeah.
So what are some things that you do to, when you, I think, because another thing, a lot of this stuff ties together. You have to be very self-aware to find yourself getting into that spot.
Yes.
And, we were kind of joking about, we had some equipment failure a couple nights ago, and, I could feel myself getting, anxious and excited about trying to solve it and the problems that he caused. And I just, made the comment to Terry that it's going to be rough for a few minutes here. Let me just work through this. But, when you have to be self-aware to realize that you're getting to that spot so you can do, help yourself. So what are some things that you recommend that we can do, when we feel that stress building?
Sure. I first want to say stress is not all bad. So we got to get that out of our heads. So good stress, and then there's chronic stress. So the good stress obviously is, you're preparing for a speech, or, you're giving a talk, or, something, stressful that's happening that's like an acute stress.
Right.
So that stress you want because it kind of gets your adrenaline going and it gets you excited. But that chronic stress is when it's kind of the overwhelm, it's the, I'm not getting out of anything, and it's just, keep piling on.
Yeah.
The first thing that you have to do, and I agree with you, right, is that you have to be mindful of that stress, of it coming on. Because if you're not mindful, it takes control over you.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing you have to do once you're mindful of that is breathe. I mean, it sounds so simple, but just imagine, when you're stressed out, when you were stressed out on Wednesday, was your heart, or was your breathing shallow?
Yeah.
Or
I'm not
even
breathing at all.
exactly, or not
not,
breathing
yeah.
at all.
He was the
Exactly.
pop.
Exactly. So that's what happens, is that you stop, your breathing gets shallow because your heart rate's going, and you're just not. So when you don't breathe, you don't get enough oxygen to your mind to think clearly. So your amygdala is that fight or flight, going on. And so the first thing you need to do is breathe. And what I'm talking about is not just like breathe that shallow breathe. Breathe your, from the stomach. So breathe through there and do that maybe 4 times, and just that deep breathing.
Yeah.
And that'll come and get you back, because you're in sympathetic nervous system. That's where you don't want to be. So the parasympathetic is that calming state. So when you breathe, that gets you back in there, and then you're able to, think through what's going on. So that's the first and foremost. The second thing is, unless you guys want to talk, what's your take on that?
No, I think it's interesting because I've done a little bit of yoga. I'm not a yogi master quite yet, but that's one thing I kind of learned through listening and watching, is that we would be really surprised to understand all of our functions that breathing can help and control, and being mindful of the breathing too. But I used to have a sign that hung over my desk that had things that I wanted to do that day, like break a sweat, drink my water, get my sleep, but I had breathe on there. And people used to laugh and say, you got to tell yourself to breathe. And I'm like, yeah, I really do, because it's not only stress, but sometimes it's intensity. And where I learned this was I used to do some martial arts, and the sensei guy would walk by and he'd be tap me on the shoulder and say, it's okay, take a breath. And then we went to a paint, where they have the instructor at the front of the class, 20 people out there, and we're all she's telling us what brush and what color, and we're, going through the motions. And she walked by and told me the same thing. She walked by and she said, it's perfectly okay to breathe while you do this. And so anyway, that kind of cued me into the fact that when I get intense about something, I quit breathing.
Yeah,
And so,
I definitely quit breathing. You're pretty good about noticing though. I mean, you might have a couple of hours and then you realize, hey, you just come back down to earth.
Yeah.
And I hold it all. I can't even get to the point to where I can notice it. I mean,
Yeah.
Roy's like, look me in the eyes. It's okay. Breathe. And I'm like, no. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, go
So
ahead.
yeah, no, I was just gonna say, so if you want, I could, go in a little bit more of, what to do to combat this. Is that what you want to?
Yeah, please.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, great.
So the second thing is, along with breathing, is taking time out, meditating. It kind of goes hand in hand, really, but not really. So meditating is really being in the present moment, because a lot of times when you're stressed out, you're either thinking about the past, or you're thinking about the future, you're worrying about the future. So being in the present moment kind of, again, calms you down.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying you have to go get a pillow and sit, you can actually do, and and all that. You can actually do it, at your desk, at your, wherever you're at, and just kind of like, all right, I got to be in the moment, stare at something, look at something, look at, I don't know, anything that's in front of you. And if you're outside, that's even better. But, it's just mainly getting into that present moment.
Yeah. And I think for me, being in the moment too, it's sometimes, okay, if you're working through a stressful situation, sometimes it snowballs. So the longer you sit there, the more it builds. And
Yes.
so, like the other night, what I was trying to do is just say, okay, I'm going to sit down and work on this for a minute. But then I get them like, okay, let's take the dogs outside and walk around. It was night, so we couldn't go for a walk. But had it been on a day like today with some sunshine, if I would take a 15-minute walk, it seems to really clear my head and put me back to where I can start thinking, clearly again. I love taking a walk. That just really does. That is kind of my, I guess that is my meditation, where I can breathe and think about other things, look at the beautiful surroundings that, and maybe even that kind of goes to gratitude. Maybe I can start practicing that little gratitude. Like, you know what, look at all these beautiful things that we have. Whatever this problem is, we'll solve it. It's going to pass. Just, you just got to figure out the way through.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And that's exactly it. Like getting outside, out in nature, out in the vitamin D. And that is meditation, because you're literally appreciating what God has given us, right? You're appreciating that though the problems that you have, rather tragic or not, is small compared to, what's out there. So it's kind of appreciation, gratitude. Yes, all of that is key to, managing it. Yeah.
That's what kind of makes you. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, you just kind of have to check yourself. And if you can see that you are just one mind, you are not the focus of everything. You are not.
Really?
I mean,
maybe you are.
For you, that's right.
This is not the time to tell me that.
You know what I mean. I mean, just everything. You are one piece.
Yeah. Well, and also too, I think what makes me kind of feel silly and very selfish when you get away from it is you're like, okay, I'm kind of been out of shape about this piece of equipment here, but there are people that are struggling with life and death and health issues. And there's so much more out there that I should be feeling lucky that this piece of equipment is my only real problem right this moment.
Think about the things that are working and just be grateful. There's your gratitude right there. Right. Just thinking more positively, focusing on that.
Yeah. And sorry, I'm going to interject one more thing, because that's, that's something that, I had talked to my priest is an awesome guy. And so I had talked with Father Darrell. This has been a while ago, but one thing he always told me is that our mind is like a grinder. And so it's always grinding constantly 24/7. And so, but we have control over what it grinds. And so, trying to replace those negative thoughts with the gratitude and the positive, I feel like that's what kind of shortens up that cycle of stress and despair and kind of moves you back over into reality. Basically, is that, you know what, this probably isn't as bad as you were making it out to be just a few minutes ago.
Yes. Yeah. That is key. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Because we typically, we end up being what I think we can end up making things go the way that we think, as long as we're in that despair and this is bad, it's unsolvable, or it's going to be hard, then it makes it more complicated, to where maybe we turn something into that really wasn't, where if we can step away and say, you know what, if I can't solve it, I can find somebody that can, then all of a sudden we're on that positive path to actually trying to fix the problem.
And you're delegating.
Yes.
Delegate.
Everything is figure outable. There's a
Yeah.
lady, Marie Forleo, who wrote that book, and it is true. Everything is figure outable, and yeah, it's the stories that we tell in our mind, and they're stories. They're just made up stories, and we're again looking into that future that we don't even know is going to happen.
Right.
So it is like, again, going back to that present moment. Okay, well, how can I figure this out? This is a problem that needs to be solved. Everything needs to be solved. So yeah, that is definitely.
So touch on a minute, if you can. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but like stress eating. So, okay, sometimes, because I have to admit that's one of my triggers. It'd be like, okay, I'm getting up from here and I'm going to, if we had any, it'd be like eat some ice cream and chips, or, eat that feel good food. And I guess it releases the happy endorphin, so you kind of get over your problem. But anyway, let's talk about that stress eating factor.
Yes. Full disclosure here, I unfortunately I had to put down my cat last week, almost 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
So, and she's 15 years and 4 months old. So it was hard. Hard. So, I know, first and foremost, the whole emotional eating, because that night my husband and I are like, we got to get something. So he got a pizza. I got some chocolate lava cake, because it's just that, that feel good, the comfort food, the, drowning your feelings, your trauma, the stress in something. So it happens. It definitely happens. And what you do at the moment is you understand, obviously, that it's happening. Because again, we're going back to that mindful, like, oh yes, I knew what I was getting was not great for me, but it was okay, because the next day I would be fine. So what ends up happening though with a lot of people is that chronic stress, they chronic eat. It's that comfort, it's that fast, I need chips, I need, I can't do this now. I need this, I need that. And it's the salt, it's the sweet, it's the sugary, it's all that, to where we're just like grab and not thinking.
Yes.
So that's why I started out with, you got to be mindful, you have to be, breathe. So this way you can understand what you are doing. And then, there are certain foods that are great for stress. And yes, I will say dark chocolate is one of them. Dark chocolate, obviously you want to get a little bit higher in the, cocoa, which is 75% or more. So you don't have that sugar. But the sugars, the salts, all of that, it actually does more damage than good. Because what you're doing is, well, there's two things that's happening. First of all, when you're stressed out, you don't want to eat, right? So you're in that fight or flight. So that blood, the blood that usually goes to your digestion is now going to your arms and legs, because it is saying for you, you want to flee, you want to fight or flee, fight or flee.
Yeah.
And it's, when you're in parasympathetic stage, you obviously are digesting well and everything else, right? But you're holding on to your gut, you're holding on to your digestion, and you don't even want to eat, or you're just thinking of that, fast food. Your digestion then is not going to work properly. So even if you don't think you're stressed out and you're not chronic stress, but you have that digestive issue, that's not good because you're not getting that essential nutrients, even when you're trying to eat that healthy, food. Now, why I bring the gut in and the digestion is because 80% of your immune system relies in your gut. So that is why when you're chronic stress, you get sick faster. And with this COVID, you want that immunity to be like 100% and then some. So you want to boost that. That is where that eating, the digestion, and all of that comes in play. So probiotics, prebiotics, prebiotic food can be flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, I think garlic, stuff like that. Those are prebiotic foods that you want to introduce as well as probiotics. So you can kind of get that digestion going there. So yeah, it is hard though in the moment.
Yes.
When you just want something quick and fast and easy and sugary and fried, whatever it is, but getting to the understanding that it's only going to be one time, and then tomorrow I'm going to be doing something better for myself. That's when you manage that stress.
Yeah, sometimes we have trouble with that. It's like if we go off track as far as eating, if we go off track, once or twice during a week, it's hard to get back into, it's like, okay, well, today's today. We finally get to today's today. Tomorrow's another day.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, the same thing. It's like, oh, we can't get back on track. It's so hard to do that. I guess it just boils down to what you were talking about earlier. Just the breathing, being able to be present and all encompassing without adding more stress, and just being able to break out of that cycle.
Yeah. And, it doesn't have to be all at once. Like, for example, if you chronically, emotionally eat every meal, just maybe cut one meal to a nutritional meal or something that helps your, just baby steps. It doesn't have to, because when you do things, and we tend to do things full force, right? Right. But that adds more stress onto you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're thinking that, well, either there's two things. You're thinking, well, that didn't work, so I might as well just go back to what I was doing. Or it's like, it's too stressful that you're, keep, either, dieting or counting calories or all that. You don't want to do that. You just want that one good nutrition meal. And then how do you feel after that? You got to ask yourself, how do I feel after this? Does it make me energized? Does it make me, think better? So how does that, because food is medicine, right? You said that before, food is medicine. So whether it's poisoning you or it's helping you, that is your choice. So it's like, okay, well, maybe let's just change out this breakfast to be a nutritional protein shake if I'm in a hurry. Right. That's good. It starts your day off good, right? And then, maybe if you change your mind during lunch, dinner, at least you have a nutritional breakfast.
Yeah. And that's, I think you brought up a point about, I will say I'm guilty, is that we want to change too much. We want to change everything all at one time. And sometimes it can just be way too much for not only our mind, but for our body. We just can't, because it's like, okay, well, we're going to cut all these calories down and we're going to go out and start exercising or, running and doing crazy stuff like that. So now
That's crazy.
Yeah. Now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's bad. Exactly. It's crazy. Yes. It's bad for your system.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that you say, when you put it that way about we're either poisoning our body or we're being healthy, because I'm not sure if, when we talked last week, we had a conversation with somebody that was telling us that the incident of these cancers arising in younger people is outpacing that of the baby boomers. And so
I remember that.
Yeah.
It's in our foods.
Yeah, basically it's in the food, the consumption, the consumption habits and everything that, our younger people, and, we're as guilty because we're on the run, and, we used to. That's been one nice thing about not being out and running around as much as we are not in the fast food lines, but it's always, we're running behind, got to go through here. It's getting late. We need something, do this, do that. And it just ends up making bad decisions. And so I will say that us being at home more, we have been more mindful of, we're cooking just about every meal. I think, we're probably lucky if we eat one meal out a week, and we try to be mindful about that. But, it's just stopping to make those choices and make good choices. It takes time because, when we do a full cook, it's a little bit more time in the kitchen. But you're right. When we eat a healthy meal, it's like, well, I'm not weighed down. I don't feel these feelings. We were talking this morning about, sleeping good. That's another trigger of mine that we can touch on for just a minute is
rest.
I tend to make very bad decisions when I'm sleep deprived, I guess, because I feel like I need to eat more to boost my energy up, instead of listening to my body and just saying at night, instead of at 10 o'clock thinking I need to get a snack so I can do one more thing, just go to bed. Go to bed and wake up and do it tomorrow.
I'm going to say that tonight.
There you go. That's your accountability partner right there.
Yeah,
right. He'll continue to say, yeah, Terry's so great. She's my sidekick, helps me on my journey. Yeah, I'm like, go to bed.
Terry, now, do you have that problem too? Or is that,
I really I look forward to going to bed, but I fight the sleep. I don't know if it's because when you're conditioned as a baby, it's like, no, I don't want to go to sleep. I'm going to miss something, But it's like, I like to go to bed and I like to have downtime, but I'm trying not to get caught up with my cell phone. I'm trying to read more, so it will make me naturally tired and detox from all the blue lights and all of that, so I can get to a restful state. So my sleep isn't always great sleep, but I like to get into bed.
She knows when to call it quits, son. I will say that is her self-discipline. Is she's like, I've had enough. We need to go lay down.
10 o'clock's coming.
But me, I'm thinking I've got 5 more things I think I can squeeze in, and I'm the worst. I know that I'm the worst about trying to do too much. But I was just sitting here thinking that it's not stress. Mine happens to be because I enjoy what I do. And so that can be a detriment just as bad as hating what you do, loving what you can do, because, it's always like, oh, I just had this idea, or we can make this a little better. Let's try this. And so
balance is not your thing.
No, but constantly thinking about, how can we improve this, or there's some analysis that I'm thinking about, and here's a better way. Anyway, so.
Yeah, no, I totally, completely understand, because I'm actually going through the same thing. So I work full time, like I said before. And so what I'm doing on the side is I'm doing either the podcast or, trying to do something for health coaching, stuff like that. So it's literally eating up my nights and weekends. So, however, I will say, and it's gotten a little off track recently, but I religiously, like at 9:30, probably, if anything, 10 o'clock, shut down everything, no matter what. And I take magnesium, and for me, I take a progesterone. So it's very calming at night, especially magnesium. So you want to, and Terry, you kind of alluded to this, to where you kind of wind down, right? So, reading is great because it's great for, morning and night, but at night you're kind of tired. You want your eyes to be a little bit tired.
Right.
No blue light, so no phone. And if you have your phone, obviously, do that, change the blue light to yellow, so it's like nighttime. And it's just, yeah, it's shutting your brain off, because
Yeah.
you can go to bed and all of a sudden you're laying there and you're just thinking and thinking and thinking.
Yes.
But the other thing that I'm going to add to that is journaling. So journaling is another thing to where when you have that brain going, writing it down, it's getting it out. It's like therapy. It's getting it out of your brain onto paper. And then tomorrow morning, the next morning, you could read it and then, then think. But when you get it out of your system, it's just, then it leaves just for a peaceful rest. Now, the number of sleep, the number of hours, they say you have to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Yes, you do, but 7 to 8 hours of good sleep.
Right. Yeah.
So the quality is a little bit more important than the quantity at this point. So if you're getting up, every hour on the hour, that's not good. If you're tossing and turning, if you're going up to go to the bathroom 3 times. So stay away from water, stay away from a lot of water. Yes. But that interrupted sleep is not really the best. And then, the next day you're going to feel groggy, you're going to feel irritable, you're going to make the bad choices. So it's getting to that wind down. And then even when you wake up, don't look at your phone. Leave your phone in another room if you have to. I know. We just recently got, alarm clocks, old alarm clocks, so our phones aren't in our possession.
Yeah.
But it's only that, the reason why I say that is because it starts your morning like this. You're on somebody else's clock and not yours.
I'm going to check the chat box on this Zoom call and see if Terry's sending you messages. Because we actually just had, our thing is she likes to lay in bed at night and do her phone. And so I've been telling her, if you want that sleep, cut that phone off and let's start reading. And so the last couple of weeks, she's been much better about reading. Well, then I guess it was the other day, she's like, okay, well, now that I'm straight on night, so what we need to do for you is no phone in the morning. And I'm like, oh, that is tough, because I like to look and see, what's been going on in the world. And it's a little harder. So we've tried to get up. The plan is to get up, take a little walk before we do, any phone things.
Yes.
And get up fast. You just get up. When you wake up, get up out of bed. It's not easy to do, because you could just sit in bed and do what you're, check your phone. Yeah. You could be there forever. So it's like an hour or so after you wake up, it's like, hey,
right.
I've been up. I haven't done anything, but I've been on my phone.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's important. For me, I look at everything trying to be more balanced. That sleep, listening to our body, drinking the water. Don't do that enough, but we got to get that water consumption.
But cutting it off at a certain time, so you're not going to the bathroom all
exactly.
night. Yeah, and I think starting the morning off, we go back and forth, but having that bottle of water with that first cup of coffee, it seems to to me, if I can get that bottle of water in earlier, then it's like I've set a precedent for the day to drink more water, where if I don't have it first thing, I tend not to drink any water. So many things to wrap up. And we can help ourselves, let me put it that way. Sometimes we're our worst enemy. And because I think I know I handle the stressful situations much better when I'm rested, when I feel like, I'm getting my exercise, when I'm just healthier feeling. Things don't tend to bother me near as much. And I assume that's, the way it is for most people.
Yeah. Again, you can never eliminate stress. Stress will always be there. So it's how you manage it. So if somebody tells you, well, these are the, things you can do to eliminate stress, they're lying. Okay, because we're always going to have stress. It's how you manage it and how you bounce back from that stress, that trauma, anything that's kind of overtaking that moment. It's how you bounce back. That's key.
Yeah. So let's remember, breathe when that stressful situation comes at you. When somebody tells you got to do this, just take a few deep breaths, or, just be mindful. I think that's another good message is let's just be mindful of everything, our breathing, our eating, our sleeping, listen to our body. We can help ourselves so much better. But I know we are way long, Elizabeth. It's been awesome conversation, a lot of great things to think about. So one question we always ask is, what is a habit that you have, a habit or a tool, maybe an app or something that you use in your daily life, personal or professional, that you feel really adds a lot of value?
Ooh, good question. The
You alluded to journaling.
yes, that
That's
is.
something that you do every day,
I
or
used to. I used to. But now
something
that
that you should do
times,
every
you
day?
should do. Yes, and it does help because it. So yes, journaling is key. And I will say, that meditation for me, I'm better at the meditation. So my morning, I'll just like really quick, my morning, I get up, I actually have that warm water with lemon. And then I go meditate for about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
So that starts the day off right. Like that starts your day off.
Yeah.
So it's getting that meditation, getting into that moment, getting that like intention, like what is your intention for the day?
Yeah.
Set it up. So that I think is key. And I will give an app out. So it's called Insight Timer. I don't know if you guys heard of that, but
No.
that is the app that I use for meditation, for music, for anything. It's a great app. And yeah.
Anyway, we could probably talk another hour, but
I know.
something you brought up that I meant to mention earlier was, in the trying to decide what we want to take on. I think that's a good question that we can ask is that going to further where I want to go today or in life or with my plan? And that's why I think we have to get back, especially if you're in business, you kind of have to have that plan of where do you really want to take this? And then that's how that's kind of your litmus test for these things that come at you every day are, is this going to further my goal? If it's not, and it's not going to hurt somebody else, then we can say no, and we can be okay with that. Whereas if this is something I need to do to further that goal, then yeah, that's something that we want to take on for sure.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's the intention. It's all of that. The purpose.
Yeah. And then the meditation, how do you do that? I know there are apps and, there's a lot of different methods. I guess the biggest thing is you just basically kind of want to clear your mind, be in the moment, and then not let these outside, but everybody kind of has to find their own path into that.
Exactly. And you said it perfectly. It's finding your own path into it. Like I do a lot of guided meditation. Some people can do just like breathing meditation. There's so many different types, loving kindness meditation, chanting, getting your chakras, aligned. There's just so many different ones. You just have to try it out for yourself. And don't do like the 20, 25 minutes at first because you're going to hate it. Do that 5 minutes and you don't have to clear your mind. People think, oh, I need to like not think. You're always going to think. Your mind's like working nonstop. It's just understanding and appreciating those thoughts, but kind of getting them a little bit out of the way and clearing, just kind of clearing the way a little.
Okay. All right. I promise we're wrapping it up now. Tell us, who can you help? What can you do for them? And of course, how they can reach out and get a hold of you. And then not only with the, the functional health coaching, but also your podcast as well.
Yes. So I am doing both. So health coaching and podcasts. So they could reach out to me. My website is www.elizabethdecristofano.com. I'm on Instagram. So I have 2 handles. So the Root of Our Health. So TheRootThe of Our Health. Anyway, so you can reach me on there or Elizabeth.decristofano. And so I'm, right now I'm taking, anybody who's interested in finding out more of how they could, manage their stress a little. If you want, 20 minutes, I can give you a, introductory call, complimentary. And then we'll just go from there. And then if you want to listen to my podcast, it can be found anywhere. This is a podcast that deals with, health and wellness for women over 40, seeing through the functional medicine lens. So getting to that root cause.
Okay, awesome.
That's
And
great.
we have a mutual friend, Dr. Carol.
Carol,
have you
I'm
had
actually doing her interview at 1 today. So
Okay, awesome.
yeah. So I'll be doing her interview today.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
will love her. She
Yeah.
I
just-
know.
So we have a prior episode you can go back and listen to with Dr. Carol Schwery, if I get
Yes.
I'm gonna get the name right.
Query. Exactly. Yes.
And but anyway, and you can go over to Elizabeth's podcast, and hopefully within the next few weeks that one will be released as well. But a lot of great information. We appreciate, stress controls a lot of our situations these days, so we appreciate you talking about that very much. We will include all of your websites and contact information in our show notes as well, so people can reach out.
Perfect.
All right. Until then, that's going to do it for another episode of Feeding Fatty. We appreciate our listeners very much. And of course, you can find us at www.feedingfatty.com. We're on all the major social media platforms, as well as this. A video of this interview will go up when it goes live as well, so you can find it on YouTube. We are on all the major podcast platforms: iTunes, Google, Stitcher, Spotify. If we're not on one that you listen to, please reach out. We'd be glad to add it. So till next time, y'all take care of yourself and take care of each other.
Elizabeth, thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.